FC Porto are one of Europe's most elite clubs. They've won the Champions League twice and they've won the Portuguese top division on 30 different occasions, but in recent years things haven't been so successful. They lost out on the Portuguese title last year to Benfica, and this year it seems to be going the way of Sporting Club de Portugal, with Porto currently sitting in third place, 18 points behind the league leaders and a pretty big distance away from second place Benfica too. They've had a Champions League exit to Arsenal, which is obviously not the worst result in the world, but it has now been 20 years since their last Champions League win, so today I'll be taking over as Porto manager with the aim of winning the Champions League. Now we're going to have 5 years to do that, and we have got a pretty good foundation to build on. Great facilities, a huge stadium, a dedicated fan base, and a 4.5-star reputation in game is certainly nothing to turn our nose up at. And we've got some great players at the club too, like Portuguese legend and captain of the club Pepe, who's now 40, so maybe isn't one for the future. Diogo Costa is one of the world's most sought after goalkeepers, aged 23, and Galeno is a tricky winger who can definitely cause some damage to the opposition. And there's some first team stars with huge potential too, like former Barcelona player Nico Gonzalez, who's going to be the heartbeat of our midfield. 23-year-old Evan Nilsson looks to be a deadly striker in FM, and 22-year-old Argentinian Alan Varela, formerly of Boca Juniors, is going to be a workhorse in that centre mid position. Financially, the board are giving me £3 million to spend in the coming transfer window, and in terms of the debts and loans, there's £300 million of debt. It's not the worst that I've ever seen, but it's something that I want to try and knock down as this save goes on. In terms of the season preview, we are predicted first place, with Benfica supposedly our only challengers, so it seems like the league might not be the hardest thing in the world, but winning that Champions League will definitely not be easy. So with only £3 million to spend, we're going to have to sell some players on to bring some players in, so let's see what kind of business we can do in Season 1. As always though, before we see those transfers for the first season, I want to ask you guys to do me a huge favour. If you could, smash the like button, it really would help the videos. I say it every time, and for you guys that do it, you're absolute legends. The channel is also growing very nicely because of that, and if you're someone that is watching but hasn't yet subscribed, make sure you click that button as we close in on 35k subs. On top of that, comment down below what rebuild you want to see next, because every rebuild we do is based on your suggestions, and the final thing, nearly done, don't worry, but if you want to continue this save yourself or any of the other rebuilds we've done on the channel, you can find my Patreon linked in the description. Over there you can support me as a creator, and in return you'll get access to all of the save files for every rebuild from season 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so you can take over at any point and continue these rebuilds yourself. But enough about me, you're here to see some transfers, and the first one was taken out of our hands really. We lost the Brazilian winger Pepe, aged 26, to Al Ittihad. Now, you can probably tell by the fact he's getting paid 850 grand a week why he wanted to leave us. As good of a player as he was, he didn't want to stay. We managed to get 20 million for him, which isn't a crazy fee. He scored 8 goals in 2 years for the club, so maybe he isn't the worst player ever to lose, but at 26 I thought he was going to be an important player, so he's a big loss, but at least we bring in some cash. We've also seen the departure of Andre Franco, who started this save on the transfer list. He's gone to Al Nassr out in Saudi Arabia for 900,000. Another transfer to Saudi taken out of our hands really was Marko Grujic, formerly of Liverpool. He has moved to Al Nassr for 7.5 million. He's been on loan at Porto for a few years. They made the deal permanent, but as soon as they came in and offered 900 grand a week for the player, he wanted to leave and he would be distraught if we didn't accept the deal, so we decided to move him on. We're not going to have him for this save, so we needed to sign some new players. And I made 3 incoming transfers, all squad players to help the team out, not necessarily any stars, but our first one was Matteo Murray, 23-year-old, joining us as a right-back backup really, for only £1 million from Borussia Dortmund, rising to 1.3. Don't expect much from him, he never really does great whenever I've signed him before, but he's a nice handy option to cover that area for a small fee. Coming in for 4.5 million is Uruguayan Alan Rodriguez, who is a 23-year-old at this stage, who can play midfield or on the wing, signing from Argentinos Juniors, where he's been pretty good in his career so far. This is his first time leaving South America though, so we'll see how he copes with that, able to play as a 10 or in centre mid, as mentioned before. He's a very handy player, a good squad option, and might be a nice little pickup for only a few million. And finally, we signed Arden Yashari to be our new midfielder. With Gruic leaving, we decided to go for a young player, age 21, Swiss international, joining us from Luzern out in Switzerland for 5 million quid. No additional fees on top of that. With all of these players, we're not necessarily getting stars, but I think the only way for us to take this Porto team forward is to kind of be a selling club, buying these younger players and selling them on for a profit when they reach their prime, and then reinvesting until eventually we get to the point where we can compete with the big boys. Now, Porto have some good striking options, so it's led to me using a 4-2-4 system for this season. Whether it will work out and be our long-term solution, I don't know, but currently our best 11 is Diogo Costa in goal, academy product João Mario at right back, who's a very handy option now, age 23 with some potential too. Pepe you've met already, and then Ivan Marcano is supposedly our other best centre back. He's also old at 36 years of age, so we might need to replace those two. Wendell is our best left back, age 30, again another more experienced player in this team. Our best midfield is supposedly Nico Gonzalez and Stefan Estequao, a Canadian with a name that I can't really pronounce there, and then we've got Galeno on one wing, Evan Nilsson and Taremi as our two best strikers, and then on the right wing we've got Loney Francesco Conchacao, who I believe is the son of the manager that we replaced when we took over. Now, with the fact that we've just lost two key squad members and only really signed some backup kind of level players for our team, it has led to our season preview going down a little bit. We're now joint favourites with Benfica, who have also made their own improvements, so it's going to be a tough season. We'll see what we can do in season 1, and from there hopefully we can really kick off our rebuild with a full transfer budget to buy some new players. Okay, this might be a harder job than I initially expected, because true to life, our Porto team has finished in 3rd place, 76 points, way away from the eventual winners, who were 11 points ahead from us in Benfica. We were runners-up in the Super Cup, knocked out in the semi-final of the League Cup, knocked out in the 4th round of the Portuguese Cup, and the Champions League knocked out in the round of 16. So Man City, mind you, so it wasn't going to be easy, but overall that's been a very disappointing season. But we might have a bit of a scapegoat as a reason as to why this happened. And that's because as we holidayed ahead after already losing two key members of the squad, in January Galeno's release clause was activated by Al Ittihad. Yes, it was a very big fee of 51 million, but he was our best player before he left. I only found out once the season was done. There would have been nothing we could have done to keep him anyway. Once he activated that release clause and offered him that kind of contract, he was never going to want to sign a new deal here. So we've lost Galeno, but that does mean 50 million in the bank for next year. And I think that's something we're just going to have to accept for some of our best players going forward in these first few years. If they play well, there's a good chance we're going to lose them. Our best players that were good this season though included Mehdi Taremi, who is actually leaving us at the end of this year as well. He's decided to sign a deal with a new club and didn't want to stick around here, so we have lost him. Tony Martinez though managed to score 21 goals. We got 6 out of Varela, 3 out of Romario Barro. Overall though, no amazing performances. Danny Damaso was a nice surprise, an Englishman at the club who has managed to bag 12 in the league this season and 13 in all comps, so that's at least a new striker to maybe take up the minutes that Taremi had. Evan Nilsson scored 10, but again, it's just not the best season at all. The only saving grace is we've got 70 million to spend in the coming window, 210 grand the wage budget. We'll be seeing Taremi go, and also Pepe is retiring at the end of this season, so we've got a lot of money to try and bring in some new players, and it's going to be a real overhaul in season 2. And you know what? I actually think this has been a very productive window. We didn't really sell anyone because we made all of our sales last season really, but we could now invest all that cash that we made, and we spent 50 million on new players. The cheapest of the bunch is a new centre-back option. Mexican 22-year-old Victor Guzman comes in as our new Pepe really. Is he ever going to be Pepe level? Obviously he is not, but at age 22 he's a very handy option, comes in as one of our best players in the team and certainly one of our best defenders. 6 million quid from Monterrey, where he's been fantastic. He's good with both feet, he's good on the ball too, with 15 passing, 14 vision and 14 technique. Very well rounded at the back, and whilst he isn't the biggest presence physically, I think he's a very nice addition to this new squad we're building. We spent a similar amount of money on Argentinian Alan Velasco, who comes in as a new star name on that left flank, really being our new Galeno, I suppose, now that Galeno is left. He's signed for 6 million from FC Dallas, where he has been incredible in his time there so far in the MLS. Clearly too good for that division, comes in as one of the best players in the squad with potential too. I think this has been a very good signing for us. We then splashed around 15 million quid on another new centre-back. Junior Mwanga has joined us, aged 21. He is now an important player at the club, or at least expects to be. A very good ball-playing centre-back, joining us from Strasbourg, where he went from Bordeaux, played a season, played fairly well, caught the eyes of our scouts, and now he is a Porto player. If you don't know, everyone we sign in these rebuilds has to be suggested by the scouts, so I can't use my own knowledge. But I was happy when the scouts brought back a new Brazilian winger for us. After losing both Pepe and Galeno, we now have Savio, who of course I do know about in real life, but thankfully our scouts did suggest him to us. In real life, I think Man City have bought him, but in this save, he was on loan at Girona and then went back to Troyes, where we were able to pick him up for 22.5 million quid, which is a great deal for a winger who's already very good, but has lots of potential too. He can play on either side, but I think on the right, cutting in as his trait suggests, onto that strong left foot, he is going to be deadly. So he is hopefully going to tear up the Portuguese divisions. And this is now what is considered our best 11. Diogo Costa keeps his position in goal, as I imagine he will for a long time. We had some interest in him. We managed to get rid of that interest, so hopefully he'll stick around. We've got João Mario at the back with Guzman, Otavio and Wendell. Otavio is a Brazilian 22-year-old who is already at the club, but realistically, I think that's going to be Mwanga going forward. I'm surprised he's not been suggested there, considering he is a better player than him. So yeah, not sure about that. But either way, Wendell's at left back, Varela and Gonzalez are our best midfielders, with Velasco, Savio, Tony Martinez and Evan Nilsson as our best strikers. There's some good options on the bench too. I've also been looking at promoting some of these younger players. I'm keeping an eye on João Teixeira as one that might be one for the future, or at least a big sale from the academy, and that's something we need to be aware of. Porto do have some good players in the academy that we might either need to promote or sell on for a big chunk of money to reinvest into our main team. So we'll see how we get on with that, but our team is now ready for season 2. Drum roll for the season preview. We're seeing this at the same time. We are predicted 3rd place. Wow. It's got a lot worse for us, losing all of these key players. 3-1 odds of winning the title. So it's definitely not going to be an easy year for us. We'll be playing Europa League football as well this season. Fingers crossed we can do well both in the league and in Europe, but we'll see what we can do in season 2. And this year we showed real signs of improvement, including getting to a cup final in the League Cup. We faced off against Sporting Club de Portugal, and Varela opened the scoring from the penalty spot, and we held that 1-0 lead all the way until the 86th minute when the Masso picked the ball up, found Varela in the area, he played it to new signing Savio, that was 2-0, and the League Cup was brought home to FC Porto. We also made the final of the Portuguese Cup, where we faced off against Benfica, our rivals, and very early on they managed to get a goal in the 3rd minute. It was scored by David Neres, and that was just the first of many goals in this game, because only a few minutes later we went up the other end with Velasco getting into the area, driving forward. He managed to pull it across to Evan Nilsson, who made it 1-1. Before we'd even reached the 10-minute mark though, Marcus Leonardo went up the other end for Benfica, managed to wriggle his way into the area. The ball found João Mario, who tucked it away for 2-1. And I'm not even joking, this is the 11th minute now, so it's already 2-1 at this point. Neves found Marcus Leonardo. That was 3-1. Finally the game calmed down until the second half when Savio found a corner with this free kick to get us back in the game. And with 30 minutes remaining, the Masso found Savio again just after we received the red card. He made it 3-3 and our 10-man club was level. But that didn't last long because our hearts were broken in the 65th minute, João Neves managing to score from close range to make it 4-3. And that meant unfortunately we didn't win the Portuguese Cup, but at least we made the final even if we did lose to Benfica. But the big news was our performance in the Portuguese Premier League, where we managed to win the title, 85 points, way more than Benfica, only a couple points more than Sporting Club de Portugal in second. The Europa League was a bit interesting. I mean, I felt like we should have done a lot better than we did. We did well in the playoffs, finishing in 10th place. That got us into the knockouts where we faced off against Basel, beat them 7-5. I thought it would be a bit more comfortable than that, but clearly not, because we then lost to Young Boys. That was in the round of 16, so we exited the Europa League early, but that did give us a clear run-in at the title, so we managed to pick up the Portuguese Premier League and also the League Cup in our second season in charge. And you can see the reason why we did so much better this year. Our performances went through the roof. We had Savio scoring 25. Tony Martinez, of all people, managed to bag 41 goals for us, which was an incredible season for him, and he's now wanted by Saudi Arabia. Evan Nilsson hit 36, Varela hit 18, we had Sanusi scoring 4, Esther Quiao scoring 10, 19 for Namaso, 15 for Velasco, Otavio got 8, Mwanga got 7. We had goals all over the pitch this year. We scored a crazy amount, it was a fantastic season, and now we've got 40 million to spend as we go into our third year at the club. Can we deliver another Premier League trophy and start pushing on the Champions League? Don't forget to like the video if you are enjoying up to this point. We've got a massive transfer window to show you now. £100 million worth of sales, 70 million spent on incomings. But before I show you them, just to let you know, the last plug of the video is there is a Discord linked in the description too. It's kind of got nothing to do with me anymore, but it's a great Football Manager Discord over there with over 900 members, a great community where you can share your tactics, your wonder kids, ask for advice, whatever it might be, or just show off your saves, talk about real football or real life. It's just a fantastic group of people, so make sure you check that out if it's your thing. But now let's check out the transfers. The first one of note, Ivan Jaime, who is a Spanish 24-year-old, has left to Atalanta for 3 million. The club had spent 8.5 mil on him. I don't think he's that great of a player, so we sold him on. Samuel Portugal, our backup goalkeeper, has moved to Palmeiras for a fee of 6.5 million. Al Shabab came in for Wendell, who only had a year left on his deal, so it's not the worst in the world for him to leave for 7.5 mil. Man City decided to take one of our youngsters, Mateo Caicedo, who I believe is very promising in real life, but in game, I don't think he's going to amount to anything, and City sent us 7.75 million with a percentage of sale in the future if he ends up being any good. So I think this is a good deal. At 18, he's nowhere near our best young prospect. One of our best has left though. João Teixeira, who was pushing for a first team place now, age 19, has moved to Man United. I don't think he'll ever actually play for them. I don't think he's good enough in this save and they won't give him the chance, but they gave us 14 million, rising to 16 for a man who's never played a minute for us, and on top of that, he wanted to go as soon as United came in, so it worked out for both parties. It is a sad loss to lose a promising youngster, but the money we got for him was certainly worth it. After his great year last time out, credit to Tony Martinez, 40 odd goals has led him to a move to Al Ahly. Once again, we got good money for a guy getting older who didn't have too long left on his deal. He gets his big move out to Saudi, gets that paycheck of 500 grand a week for 3 years. He's gonna love that. He was so good for us last season, but now he's moved on for £30 million. Similar story goes for Danny Namaso, who has moved to Al Hilal. He was a good player for us last year and the year before, to be honest. Never the world's best, but scored plenty of goals across all competitions. Now he's moved for £30 million, and he's on a contract of £1 million per week. What a deal it is for him. He's good, but he's certainly not £1 million per week kind of good, so fair play. We get a load of cash in and we sell on some players, and that's the way we really have to go with Porto at the minute. Any Porto fans upset watching though, don't worry, we've bought in some great incomings, and I also rejected £90 million from Chelsea for Diogo Costa, so I am trying to keep some of our best players around still. One player that comes in though is Jacob Moda. He joins us age 26 on a free contract, having left Brighton. Not expecting much, just an option off the bench for free. He's not bad at all. A great free signing though is Tariq Lamptey, age 24, the Ghanaian formerly of Brighton and Chelsea. Another one let go at the end of his deal. I think he spent most of last season injured, and now he was able to join us on a free, but he can cover both of those wing-back positions and could be a nice addition. Only expect him to be a squad player, so there's not much riding on this. This is what I'm talking about though. We lost Tony Martinez, we lost Danny Namaso, and coming in for free is Ivan Toney, who had left Brentford at the end of his contract. We've managed to pick him up. In his first game for us, he scored 2 and assisted 2, so seems like it's been a good signing. He is in and valued at 40 million on 50 grand a week. That is an excellent transfer. I think this is a good bit of business as well. Noah Okafor offers us a good option off the left flank and also up front. He's a Swiss 25-year-old with electric pace, joining us from AC Milan. He signed from Salzburg, didn't play much in his most recent season, but has been important over the years. We've paid 13 million quid for him, which is not a bad deal at all. I think he's a nice addition off the left. Again, another one, only expecting to be a squad player, but could definitely push on for some extra minutes. If Tony was our Martinez replacement, Okafor is our replacement for Namaso. And we've also added another striker to the mix next, one for the future, 19-year-old Turkish international Semih Kılıçkaya, who scored 6 in 12 for Turkey. He's been bagging goals for Besiktas at a very young age, and in his first game for us, he scored 3 goals and got a 10 rating. 20 million quid is the fee, a release clause, else he would have been much more than that. He's strong, he's quick, he's a good finisher, the perfect striker for our team to play off of Tony. And with Wendell leaving, I wanted to invest in the left back position, so I spent a pretty hefty fee on Quindeshelly Hartman. Again, a name I'm not going to try and do again, let's just call him Hartman. A Dutch international left back for 35 million, signing from Feyenoord. He's going to be a nice player. I know it is a lot to spend in the Portuguese leagues, but we made a lot of money from sales, and we didn't actually spend that much on incoming transfers compared to those sales, so I think it balances out. And here's the squad that we've assembled after 3 seasons, and it's looking very good here. Diogo Costa's in goal, João Mario, Mwanga, Otavio and Hartman are in defence. Mwanga developing very nicely at centre-back, and if we have a look at João Mario, he is becoming, I think, one of the best right-backs in the world. That might be a stretch, but he's Portugal's international right-back now. We've got the Dutch international left-back too. So far, this rebuild seems to be heading in the right direction. Varela's in the midfield with Nico Gonzalez, another one that I rejected huge money for. 75 million from Man City was rejected. On the right, we've got Savio. On the left, we've got Velasco, then Tony and Evan Nilsson through the middle with some great players on the bench. Guzman, Estaquao, Kılıçkaya, Sanusi, Moda, Okafor, Lamptey as well. We are building a very strong squad, not just a strong first 11, and it's led to our season preview having us in second place. And you'll also see we have played the Club World Cup. We got to the semi-final and got knocked out, and did win the Portuguese Super Cup to start the season against Benfica, which puts us in good stead for the rest of the year. So let's see what we can do in our 3rd season at the club. And season 3 was a little bit of a mixed bag, and that was summed up in our Champions League campaign where we made the round of 16 against Nice. Now, we came into this 3-2 down after the away leg. They travelled to Portugal and went 1-0 up in the 67th minute. That made it 4-2 on aggregate, but in the 80th minute, the tide changed a little bit after this horror tackle from Thuram led to a sending off and Nice going down to 10 men. So now we had 10 minutes to complete our fight back. Savio received it in the 86th, found Varela, he went forward and managed to score, and only 1 minute later, Hartman took the ball off the left-hand side in the 89th minute, found Evan Nilsson in the box, he headed it down, but the goal was disallowed for a foul by Evan Nilsson, so we came crashing out of the Champions League in the round of 16. That's a competition we're trying to win, and we've only got 2 more years to do it. Thankfully though, we were dominant on a home front, managing to win the title with 89 points. We lost the Portuguese Cup, we lost the Portuguese League Cup, but my main concern in Portugal is to win the top division, and we are doing it by a distance now. Benfica we beat by 8 points in 2nd place, but Sporting Club de Portugal only got 59 points, finishing in 5th spot, so it's been a poor year for them, and our good season was guided by a few players, but we are clearly lacking some goals compared to last year. We're still scoring a lot, but not as many as before. Tony, mind you, bagged 26 in his first season, and Kılıçkaya bagged 23. Not bad for their first years here. Savio got 9, and we saw Evan Nilsson score 19, whilst Okafor chipped in with 14 goals from that inside forward position on the right flank. This team still needs a lot of work though, in my opinion, to be a Champions League contender, but we have got £35 million to do so in the next window. For those wondering as well, financially there's £73 million in the overall balance, and the debts have been cut in about half now, down to 177 million. So we're working that. We're also improving the facilities, but we have lost a bit of our reputation recently, and with it being over 20 years since our last Champions League win, we've now only got 2 seasons to make it happen. So we need some big transfers, I think, to really help this team out in season 4. We went to work straight away with our sales, moving on Alan Rodriguez, the Uruguayan signed in season 1. He's moved to Torino for 2.2 million. Didn't help us too much, but it's not the worst loss in the world. We've also seen Matteo Marais move on to Montpellier in the French divisions. He signed for 2.5 million, played a bit part for us, but isn't going to play much anymore, so it was time to move him on. Gabriel Veron is a player that I had high hopes for, but he didn't really do much in this save, so he's moved to Vasco da Gama out in Brazil for 2.7 million. We've had had Sanusi leave for club too. He wanted a huge new deal that I wasn't willing to pay. He was now behind Lamptey and Hartman as our best left back, so he's moved on for 10.25 million. But our big sale was Alan Varela, who's been with us since season 1. He's also moved to Saudi Al Ittihad for the Argentinian. It's £48.5 million, which is a really good fee. He has been good for us, but again, you get offered 50 million quid for someone like this, you have to take it and reinvest with this Porto squad. Coming in for the year though, we've got a loanee for once. I never tend to do this, but I fancy doing it for this player. Pau Kubarasi was available for a really small fee on loan. He's going to cost us 1.5 million for the whole year, which I think is pretty good for a depth option, and maybe if he likes it here, we can keep him for the future. Marcelino Nunez has signed for us as well on a free. The Chilean 26-year-old was available from Norwich, where he's been exceptional in the Championship, but clearly with them not getting promoted, he was a bit upset. He left at the end of his deal, and now he joins us in FC Porto. We signed a new gem player as well, 18-year-old Norwegian international Jacob Arne Liabak. He signs from Bodo Glimt, where we've loaned him back out for the season, coming in for 5.5 million, rising to 6.5. He can continue his growth over there and then come in as one of our options next year. Similar story for Franco Mastantuono, who I think is going to be an unreal player. We've picked him up age 18 from River Plate for 7.75 million and loaned him back there for the season. Mads Bidstrup is in the midfield now. The Danish 25-year-old signs from RB Salzburg for 15 million quid, where he's been exceptional for the last 3 years. But our biggest money signing yet, Alberto Moliero, is in as our new left winger, 22 years of age, 41 million quid, rising to 46. Yes, he hasn't really done much in La Liga. In the second division though, he was exceptional. Caught the eyes of our scouts, they believed in him, and I believe in him too. I think he could be a great player here at Porto. And this is the team we've built after 4 seasons at the club. Costa is in goal, still interested by Chelsea, but I reject every bid that they send in for him. João Mario's at right back with Mwanga, Otavio, Hartman, Bidstrup, Gonzalez with Malero, Savio, Tony and Evan Nilsson. Quick shout out as well to Nico Gonzalez, who's been a really good player for us so far in this rebuild, developing nicely and is the heartbeat of our team really, a real leader there too. We've also promoted a youngster into the first team. Martin Fernandez is the first one I think could really make an impact into our best 11. Whether he'll get there straight away, I don't know, but age 20, he's got some great attributes. He can understudy João Mario for a while and hopefully take over that position in a few years. He's also got that young Norwegian to compete with that we've recently signed, so we'll see how that gets on, but we have started adding some of these younger players to the team. The sign that we keep improving this team though is the fact that we are now odds-on favourites to win the title, way ahead of Benfica and Sporting Club de Portugal. We've got the 2 best players in the league as well in Savio and Moliero, so I feel like we're guiding this team in the right direction, but with 2 years to go, is this team ready for a Champions League? I don't think so yet, but we're going to try and push and see what we can do in Season 4. And this season, we did amazingly well. Of course, we were in the Champions League and we made it into the knockout playoff rounds where we faced off against Manchester City of all clubs. We beat them. We then got drawn against Paris Saint-Germain in the round of 16. We beat them. In the quarterfinals, we faced Barcelona. We somehow beat them too, and it led to a semi-final against Arsenal. And at this point in this save, Arsenal were one of Europe's biggest superpowers. And in the first leg, they beat us 2-1 at the Emirates, but straight away, in the home leg, we managed to make it 1-0 after 35 minutes through Savio. Arsenal quickly hit back though to keep their lead at 1 above us. Martinelli managing to play the ball across the area. He found Havertz, and that was then 3-2 on aggregate. Not long before the end of the first half though, Hartman found the ball on the wing, he managed to play it across, somehow found Savio, that was 3-3 and it was game on. That was until this moment where David Carmo hacked down Gabriel Jesus and got himself sent off in the 50th minute. And despite playing our hearts out and getting to the semi-final in the 76th minute, Gabriel scored, 10 men Porto were down 4-3 and it was over. At least that's what everybody thought, because in the 80th minute, Okafor made his way into the area, tucked it past Ramsdale, that was 4-4 on aggregate and we were heading to extra time. And our 10-man team did not give up. Porto lost to Arsenal in the Champions League in real life, but this poor clearance made it to Semi Killaskoy, who scored, he made it 5-4, and we were heading to a Champions League final. And despite having already beat Arsenal, PSG, Man City and Barcelona in the Champions League, we got drawn against Real Madrid in the final, and they went 1-0 up early on through Vinicius Jr. Now realistically, our squad is nowhere near Real Madrid, so to be in this final at all was a complete crazy set of events to have beat all of those big big teams. We found ourselves 1-0 down after 30 minutes, but we know our Porto team can fight back, and they did it once more. In the 32nd minute, Molero found Tony, who managed to bag against Real Madrid and make it 1-1. I really don't know what had got into us at this point, because suddenly we started playing out of our skin. Tony again found some space, he made it 2-1. Then Savio managed to dance past Camavinga, rode a few challenges, went into the area, curled it past Courtois to make it 3-1, and with 76 minutes on the clock, Nico carried the ball forward to Hartman. He played it across the area, he was vital today. Tony tucked it away, that was his hat-trick, that was 4-1 in a Champions League final against Real Madrid, and after 20 plus years of waiting, the Champions League was heading back to FC Porto. And if that wasn't already good enough, we won the Portuguese Cup, we won the Portuguese League Cup, and we won the league. We were runners-up in the Super Cup, but I think we can forget about that. The League Cup, we managed to beat Benfica 1-0 in the final, and the Portuguese Cup, we beat Sporting Club de Portugal 3-0. It was a fantastic season all around. We've won a quadruple there with FC Porto, probably one of the greatest seasons they will ever have in their history, if not the greatest. Am I the next Jose Mourinho? Am I the special one? I don't know, but we did something special with this team. I say we, it was all the players. Evan Nilsson scored 35, Tony scored 32, Savio, Molero, Okafor, Lamptey, Estequao, all of those scored plenty of goals. That's not even counting Killer scores 13, 8 for Alan Velasco, goals all across the pitch. This team was absolutely flying, and it's led to our reputation now being 5 stars. We've got great facilities all around, finances, we've got 91 million quid, there's not too much left in the net debts as well, and we've got 20 million to spend in the coming transfer window. There was a lot to go through there, but remember, this was only season 4, so we've still got another year left to go. I doubt we'll ever have anything as ridiculous as last season, but fingers crossed we can give it another go in our 5th and final season. But first, let's make some transfers. And if you thought we were going to go out quietly in this 5th season, we've just sold £120 million worth of players and spent another 70. Heading out was Fran Navarro, the Spanish striker, who I didn't really know was here, to be honest. He's moved on for £2.5 million to Girona. Al Ali sent us £10 million for Arden Yashari, who's been good for us since signing for £5 million, but didn't play too much, so we loaned him out. He's got 2 good seasons under his belt, and now we've got a nice little fee for him. Jacob Moda's done a similar thing, signed on a free contract, didn't play much, and has now moved on to Saudi Arabia to Al Shabab for 12 million. Our big sales were huge losses to the team though. João Mario has left the club. I think with Lamptey here, as well as the new Norwegian fullback, and of course Martin Fernandes, we were okay to let him go. He wanted to try something new, having won everything here at FC Porto, so fair play to him. He goes away for 49.5 million to Al Ittihad. And Ivan Toney came for a season or two, really took the world by storm, and now he's moved on for his big paycheck, 825 grand a week. One England cap is a crime for the 31-year-old who just scored a hat-trick in a Champions League final. 57 million, not bad for a guy age 31. I think we'll take it, he'll take it too. It works for both parties and gives us loads of money to buy some new players. First, we had a free signing, not too much to note. Can Bozdogan is his name. I don't really know who he is, but he joined from FC Utrecht on a free contract to bolster our midfield. Also joining on a free is Englishman Amari Hutchinson, Swiss centre-back Bekir Omaragic, Chet the Corre of Crystal Palace, who's a really handy player to have signed on a free, and a new left-back option in Miguel Gutierrez, who's going to compete with Hartman for that left-back spot. The ones that actually cost us some money though, we had Svetslav Vutsov, who's going to be our new backup goalkeeper. Bulgarian, 2.6 million is the fee for him. He's going to be a nice backup to Diogo Costa, nothing more. Gaston Avila is an extra centre-back option, signing from Ajax, an Argentinian international, age 25 for 16.5 million. But our big signing, using that Ivan Toney money, we've reinvested it all in a 21-year-old French international, Junior Krupi, described by Timoe Bakayoko, who played at Monaco with Mbappe, as the next Mbappe. He actually said that in real life, so there you go. Junior Krupi is our new striking option. He's a great player, 50 million quid from Lorient. He was in the 2nd division, which is why he was, I say so cheap, but for the player he is, he was cheap. He's good on the ball, he's good physically, he's got great decision making, composure, finishing, dribbling, passing, vision technique, everything you could want, he has got it. He is going to be a phenomenal player for us. Mastantuono is also joining us, having been loaned out last season. He is now back at the club, and the same goes for the young fullback Lyerback, who was good out for Bodo Glimt and can now compete for that right back spot. But our best 11 to finish off this rebuild is Diogo Costa, Tariq Lamptey, Junior Mwanga, Otavio, Hartman with Bidstrup, Nico Gonzalez, Alberto Miliero, Savio, Krupi and Evan Nilsson, with a fantastic bench as well, filled with players that could be in a English Premier League winning team, genuinely some of these guys. So I think we've absolutely smashed this out of the park, but we'll see what we can do in our 5th and final season. Can our squad win the Champions League once more? The answer to if we could win the Champions League, though, was no. We got knocked out by PSG. They had an insane squad, beat us in the quarterfinal, so hands up to them. But in the league, it was a lot closer this year, with Benfica neck and neck with us until the final day of the season, where we needed a win to get the title. And we were up against Braga, who were in 3rd place this season, but they came to the Dragao, and we were very, very dominant there. Across the course of this rebuild, Milero made it 1-0 very early on in the 12th minute. And then after some attempts to play it out the back by Braga, Gutierrez received it on the left. He found Junior Krupi with a brilliant header to Evan Nilsson. The two strikers connecting, they helped us get the win and eventually the title. And we've been the bane of Benfica's life in this rebuild because we faced off against them in the Portuguese Cup final, where Savio scored this goal, the only goal of the game that won that competition. Don't worry though, Benfica fans, if you are watching, there's a rebuild for you on the channel about 4 weeks ago, so you can watch that and have a bit more fun there. So our final season was always going to be underwhelming compared to season 4, but it was another 2 trophies to add to the cabinet. Runners up in the Super Cup, we lost 6-2 there to Manchester United, but we'll forget that ever happened. Overall, we've absolutely smashed it in this rebuild. There's some of our star players. Mastantuono was brilliant when he did play this year. We've got Krupi, Okafor, Evan Nilsson. Killiskoy got 27 too. The future is bright for this team. If anyone wants to continue this over on Patreon, you're going to have a great team for the future, with lots of great young talents coming through as well. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed. Let me know who you want to see next, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.